Today, Napheesa Collier went on First Take, and when we're talking women's basketball, you can't help but to bring up Caitlin Clark. It's just the way the world works.
About Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever's TV schedule, WNBA player Napheesa Collier says, "It's just not fair that one team gets almost all their games on national TV." But is this truly about justice? Or is there another issue at play here? In actuality, networks select the Fever because you choose to watch them, not because they prefer them. By the end of this film, you'll realize why Collier's fairness suggestion totally misses the point of how sports broadcasting truly operates. The facts don't lie. The league has never seen record viewership thanks to Lynn Clark games.
Molly Karam, you win the award for the dumbest question of the day. Napheesa Collier, you win the award for the foolish answer of the day. And Stephen A. Smith,
Did you hear what Napheesa Collier said about Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever on First Take? Her remarks are making waves in the basketball community, and rightfully so. During her appearance on ESPN's First Take, the vice president of the WNBA Players Association and a Minnesota Lynx star, Collier was asked directly about the state of the television schedule.
And Napheesa Collier went on to First Take, and of course, as expected, she was asked about the Fever getting more TV viewers, which is just one of those obvious things.
Instead of recognizing the straightforward financial reality underlying this choice, the defending champion New York Liberty will only receive 32 games this season, while the Indiana Fever will have 40, one of its 44 games televised nationally. Keir responded in what many fans are describing as a perplexing manner, implying that the circumstances were rather absurd and unjust to other clubs.
I mean, the reason why they have more national TV games because 18 of the top 20 most viewed games last year were the Indiana Fever. It was literally if I'm not mistaken, it was if you don't count the All-Star game, there was a Las Vegas Aces and Chicago Sky game that, again, was directly before one of the Fever games which had more viewers in it, which was literally right before a Fever game. So a game that led into a Fever game.
The way she began by recognizing that people wanted to watch was just as provocative as the content of her remark. That part makes perfect sense, but Caitlin Clark tried to play both sides by saying she understood why networks wanted to show Fever games while also implying there was something unfair about it. She then quickly changed her mind and suggested it's crazy that the defending champions don't get more coverage.
So if there are 175 slots, question fee, because you know more than me. How are we able to give more games to other teams without taking away from other teams? How does that work? Please enlighten me.
Her suggestion that other teams should receive more TV games without detracting from the Fever was the most controversial aspect of her remarks. This exposes a basic misconception about how TV scheduling operates. There are only so many slots available for the networks, making it practically impossible to give everyone extra coverage without depriving someone else of their games.
Now, the WNBA do not decide who's on TV. Let's be there. They make the deal with the WNBA to get certain amount of games on certain days, and whatever, these networks choose who to show.
Not having any of it, Stephen A. Smith replied to Collier by making a potent analogy to Michael Jordan's formative NBA years. Smith highlighted that viewing is driven by popularity, citing how the NBA successfully centered itself around Jordan even prior to his championship victories. The networks are only reacting to what the market requires. They are not favoritism.
80s, for example, when Magic Johnson and Larry Bird took the NBA by storm and they were winning championships, competing for championships, but then this dude named Michael Jordan came along. And Michael Jordan came along and he wasn't yet winning championships, but his popularity was so astronomical that the NBA practically marketed everything they could around this guy. So to know that there's an example like that as a shining example to be followed that could benefit the league, particularly down the road, why is that an issue when we've seen that such a marketing plan has worked in the past?
What's especially confusing is how Collier stepped up her efforts instead of accepting this business reality. Her actions give the impression that she wants equal TV time regardless of what viewers truly want to watch. But why would a seasoned player and vice president of the Players Association accept this role? What is actually happening here?
I think it's an issue. I do think Caitlin's a star. And like I said, people want to see her, and we are trying to grow the league. Like, you need to put on TV the players that people want to see. But kind of what I said before, I don't think raising the level of the other teams has to mean bringing down Caitlin or the Indiana Fever. They should have those amount of games on TV on primetime, but I think other teams should also have more than what they have.
That's fair.
Collier's remarks highlight a deeper issue in the WNBA. There is increasing hostility between long-standing players and the newcomer, Caitlin Clark. This isn't really about fairness. Rather, it's about attention and visibility. Prior to Clark's arrival, the established players had a hierarchy and distribution of the spotlight, but that is now drastically changing.
The issue with this is that if you are a WNBA owner, you have any stake in the collective bargaining agreements, you see how out of touch these players are. You know you're walking into those meetings with the high ground. Shout out to Obi-Wan. I mean, it is what it is.
When you take into account Kier's role as the Players Association's vice president, where she is meant to represent the financial interests of all players, you find that she is adopting a position that appears to disregard the economic realities that could ultimately benefit everyone in the league. The large TV audiences that Caitlin Clark draws may eventually result in larger contracts for all WNBA players, including Collier herself.
Hey, Napheesa, is it fair while my employer, ESPN, says, man, Molly, I want to pay you as much money as I possibly can, but the only way we can do that is with advertisers, is with bread. So to help your bottom line, ESPN needs to boost their bottom line. And unfortunately, Caitlin Clark, she raises everybody's bottom line.
The Players Association, BP, doesn't seem to understand the basic fact that when it comes to airing WNBA games on national television networks, they aren't playing favorites. They are following the money. The numbers don't just tell a story. They shout it from the rooftops. This is hidden behind all of this talk about fairness and TV scheduling.
Stan, like, from a casual perspective, there was 1.5 teams that were good to watch last year. Or 2.5 teams. The Wings were so fun to watch. They were garbage, but they were so fun to watch. The Wings, the Fever, and the Liberty were the only teams from a casual perspective that were good to watch.
I'll give you some data to help you understand why TV executives are rushing to get Caitlin Clark on our screens. Would you believe that the Indiana Fever were featured in 18 of the top 20 most watched WNBA games last season? The only two exceptions were Game 5 of the finals and one Aces Sky matchup that coincidentally preceded a Fever broadcast. This isn't about preference. Rather, it's about what fans are actually watching.
The reason why they have more national TV games because 18 of the top 20 most viewed games last year were the Indiana Fever. It was literally, like, if I'm not mistaken, it was if you don't count the All-Star game, there was a Las Vegas Aces and Chicago Sky game that, again, was directly before one of the Fever games, which had more viewers in it, which was literally right before a Fever game.
Viewership often surpasses the million viewer threshold when Caitlin Clark on the court, while games without her are having trouble breaking 200,000 viewers. This is not a slight disparity between Fever games and the rest of the league. We are discussing an audience size that is 5 times larger. For a moment, imagine yourself as a TV executive. If your job hinged on having 200,000 viewers or more than 1 million, which would you choose?
So a game that led into a Fever game, no other time when the Sky played the Aces, but the one that led into the Fever game, and it was Game 5 of the finals. That was literally it. They were the only games that had more viewers than Caitlin Clark games.
Require additional evidence, watch what transpired during the playoff matchup between the Fever and Connecticut. 3 million people watched and recalled how, while Clark was still a college student, her NCAA tournament game broke attendance records with 14 to 19 million viewers. Those aren't simply impressive figures, though. They're game-changing stats that alter the way networks perceive women's basketball.
Because if you look in the way with college basketball and the women's, yeah, the game has not been as big as it was with Caitlin Clark. but there's a lot more viewers in 2023. So you can see there's a positive growth there. And you can see all these positive things. And I think that's the way the WNBA is going.
Here's something Kier and other players need to know. When ESPN puts the Fever on national TV, they're not doing it because they like Caitlin Clark's smile or because they're playing favorites. Rather, they're doing it because advertisers pay based on eyeballs, and Clark delivers those eyeballs in historic numbers. There are only 175 total slots available across all networks for WNBA games, so every decision to show one team means not showing another.
There are multiple times when the Fever play other teams and they have to make a choice, and these networks are going to choose the Fever every single time. And any person at any of these networks that does not choose the Fever should be fired.
If you're running ESPN and you have to decide between a game that will draw 200,000 viewers or one that will draw over 1 million, it's not even a choice. It's simple math, and the decision makes itself. You see, networks are companies that have paid for the rights to broadcast these games, and they need to maximize their return on that investment.
That's how it's done. That's literally how it's done. Caitlin Clark, boom. Well, let's put Caitlin Clark games on as often and as frequently as we can, so advertisers pay us the money to advertise during the Caitlin Clark spot. This is such a simple idea that I think that I'm stupid sometimes.
The Fever are receiving more airtime because millions more people watch them play than other teams, not because someone in a boardroom decided they deserved it. This is capitalism in its purest form. What we're witnessing isn't some plot to favor one player over another. Rather, it's just viewers voting with their remote controls and the networks complying with that demand.
And it's not like these teams or players are making more from their games being shown on TV. The more games these networks choose to show, the more money they all make. This is a weird one, saying it's crazy. What are you on about? I'm sorry, it's never in any sports league in the history of sports has the team who won the championship automatically been the most watched team the next year.
The plot twist that alters everything is that the millions of spectators who are watching Caitlin Clark concurrently get to know each of the players she faces off against. The story of Clark taking center stage ignores the wider picture. What we're seeing is an unparalleled chance for growth that benefits the entire league, not a zero-sum game where one player's fame comes at the price of others.
I mean, the networks dictate what they want where, no? They want the best bang for their buck. Plus, there are other teams playing in those 41 games. My money says they will get more exposure from those games than any others throughout the season. You're damn right.
Imagine this. When the Fever play the Lynx, yes, people watch Clark mainly, but they are also watching Napheesa Collier. That's over 1 million new potential fans who are seeing Collier's skills for the first time. Otherwise, it's like free marketing on a scale the WNBA has never seen before.
The WNBA is in a position where it's going to grow. And the only reason this league will not grow is because of the players and the old media. If the players in the old media just took their mics away, if they just stopped speaking, this league would skyrocket. And I like Napheesa Collier. I just think this is an incredibly dumb argument.
The disparity in the players' mindsets is becoming more noticeable. While some players see the situation as threatening and gripe about TV schedules and fairness, others see the fantastic opportunity that lies ahead of them. We're playing Indiana, so it's a fantastic opportunity to show 1 million new people what I can do. Do these athletes realize that winning over Clark's audience could turn them into their own supporters? They're considering the long term.
I'm sorry, the NBA did not have the Denver Nuggets on more than the Lakers or the Warriors. When the Denver Nuggets won the championship, they were not on TV more than Steph Curry. Why is this an issue? It's not an issue in any other sport. I'm a Leeds United fan. No matter what, Leeds United are going to be on TV more than any other team in the championship, no matter how good or bad we are.
In basketball history, we have witnessed this similar trend previously. When Michael Jordan ruled the NBA's popularity ratings, did it harm Magic Johnson or Larry Bird? No, it strengthened the league as a whole. Jordan's star power didn't devalue other players. It made the NBA a worldwide sensation and significantly raised everyone's pay. The WNBA may benefit from Clark's popularity in the same way that the rising tide lifted all boats.
41 Indiana Fever games on TV. Do you know what that also means? there's 41 games that other teams are playing. There are 41 games on national TV that other teams are playing in with that are going to have over 1 million viewers.
Since money is ultimately what matters for athletes' careers, let's talk about it. With a surge in viewership Clark is generating, future TV contracts could potentially soar into hundreds of millions of dollars. This isn't just hypothetical revenue. It's actual money that will directly increase every player's salary, including callers. The current WNBA TV deal is only about $60 million annually, which is a fraction of what major men's sports command.